particular bit on mulch positioning. So we just cut back here the inga bean, the queen palm, a fow and a fig. So how do we put the mulch down? First of all, in our case, because we got goats, we look at it, what do the goats prefer? So we have a bit of a goat tax here. So they like a bit of inga bean, they love fow, yeah, so that's goats. And the figs being in the mulberry family, they love as well, but at the moment the leaves are only just coming up, so it's hardly worth it. They will eat the bark, of course, as goats do, and they love it. So maybe we keep one for the goats. And another fowl, that's really good, highly digestible food for goats. But whenever we do that, we try not to do more than 5%, 10% for the goats, that's it. And now we might want to put the richest mulch down first, because that's where the earthworms get to it, right? They don't come out forever eating stuff on the surface. So in this case here, it's fow. Yeah, it's highly digestible for worms, just like it is, as you can see, the wood pitch and the carero has eaten the edges of it because it's such a high nutrient and highly digestible leaf. I mean, even we can eat that. Yeah, it's in the Malvasia family, and they're quite soft and succulent and have a bit of a phlegm to them, which is quite healthy for us and the animals. So you could cook those things and eat them all right, or even in the salad raw, just like linden or lime trees in Europe are used for that as well. And but since we can't eat it all, we're going to mulch it. So we put the rich stuff down first. So when we cut it on the ground, we don't want to go in straight. There could be a stone there, but we do this sort of slicing if there are any branches that we haven't dealt with. So yeah, it's a nice little layer right here. So that means all these beautiful nutrients from the fow are actually reaching the soil life rather than sitting on the surface and drying out and sort of oxidizing without being utilized by the soil life. So that's the thing with mulching versus composting. If we would take that away and compost it, then a lot of the energy that's in this organic matter will just evaporate into the air from a hot compost pile. Whereas here, it feeds the soil life in the soil and also on the mulch. So we have worms taking it in. We have springtails and all sorts coming up and nibbling on it. And at the same time also we have right away, we have yeasts and lactic bacteria and all sort of things, protozoa that sit on the surface and eat that stuff. And we even have bacteria that are taking energy from that, but also taking sunlight and make energy from there. So all of that is happening in the litter layer. But yeah, the rich stuff, easy to digest down first, so that's the comfrey and a lot of your forbs on the ground, banana stems, all these sort of rich, easy digestible materials go first. And then we put a layer of logs on it. Yeah. And then we put some gnarlier material on it. So this is inga bean, it has more tannin in it already. And that goes down. And then last we put things in like palm. Now palm leaves are a bit sort of awkward. We just cut them shorter. Some people take all the leaves off like that, so we don't create a roof and take all the water out of the system. But I find it a bit too much work. I'm not so keen on that. So we somehow put it down like that. Yeah, so that's a bit awkward. So if we had any logs, we can use that to press it down, so it's not so messy to walk on. Yeah, so palm leaves are a bit of a special case. I mean, ideally we would use them to thatch a roof and then throw them out when they're half rotten. So, but we don't do that here, of course. So palm leaves are a bit a special case, but apart from that, you get the point. Rich stuff first, then some logs, and then again some loose, more high carbon material on top to seal it all in, keep it out of the sun, because this shallow compost pile now becomes really active with bacterial life, fungal life, trichoderma will grow rapidly in there. And that's what we want, because all of those will produce also plant growth hormones that stimulate the regrowth and defenses in plants and so on. So a lot of beneficial byproducts come out of that litter decomposition. And that's what nature does. And in Syntropy, we do that in an extreme form. So when we have the right density with the right management, we create each time a really thick, deep litter layer, not too deep, otherwise we would have a hot compost. That doesn't happen either. But we should never have so little organic matter that it starts to dry out and oxidize and not feed the soil life. So doing it just the right density, the right stratification and the right timely management, we should always get the right perfect amount of litter to have the mix between beautiful moist soil cover and high soil life, and not go so extreme that we have a hot compost pile. That wouldn't be helpful. So we put some logs on top of it to make walking on it easier and to press it all down so it's not too airy. And keep in mind, say here on this slope here, just like anywhere, you always have a slope of some sorts. Try to put it on contour, right? And that way you slow down any runoff that you might get. And that way, even on a steep slope, you create sort of as if it was miniature terraces that slow down the loss of your litter, and rain will infiltrate better. And that way you can create fertile soil even on a steep slope made of clay like ours here. And also within that system, we need to develop a habit of moving things from lower down upwards. That way we keep bringing fertility always back up in the valley. That's how nature works. That's how syntropy works in nature. Say for instance, eels coming up streams, delivering nutrients further upstream. The salmon do the same thing, and so on. So we do the same thing. So when we mow something here, always work this way with your left hand. If you're right-handed, left hand uphill, so you cut things and throw it up there. You see, that's, you know, as if we go the other way and we work downhill, that's working towards entropy. All right, we are Syntropy, all right? So yeah, and that somehow always works out right. That's how we do it.